Good morning, dear devotees from Sridham Mayapur. My name is Madhavananda Das, and this is our regular adventures in Srimad Bhagavatam. Today, we're still on our topic, the 8th session. We're calling Meeting in Kurukshetra, although we haven't gone to Kurukshetra yet. Well, this is part 2 of what happened in Mathura. And this looks like it'll be possibly part 1 of 2 of the killing of the elephant Kuvalapida. And this morning we'll be hearing from the Bhagavatam, but also from the Vamsa Purana, the Vishnu Parva, and also from the 5th canto of Garga Samhita, and also from the 5th chapter, the Uttara Parva of Srila Jiva Goswami's Gopal Campu. So we'll begin with a few prayers. Hare Krishna. Narayanam namaskrityam naramschaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat vedi ramayaneshchaiva purane vadate tata adavante chamadye cha hari sarvatra giyate Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande shigurum dinataranam paramananda madhavam paramananda he madhava padunga luchi makaranda Se makaranda panakori. Won't you move over there? Panakori anande bolo hari hari harinka name vandavela parikori be chakadolam se chakadolanka paraye Manamo Rahu Nirantare Manamo Nirantare Rahu Har Krishna Boli Jiva Jao Har Krishna Boli Jao Jiva Motehu Dada Radha Dava Moteu dada radha dava Moteu dada radha dava Gora graganya gana gota galoruharam Goranga gudatama gopyata kopa briksham Gopala gada ratidam yati singha gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Vanshakapadarudischa Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam in the 43rd chapter, the 10th canto, about Krishna entering into Mathura. In our last session, we read a verse, text 38, from the 42nd chapter, which described how Nanda Maharaj was summoned by Kamsa. And he went there, he made his offerings to him, and he took his seat in one of the galleries. And Nanda Maharaj at that time, Kamsa spoke to him And he said, where are your boys? Are you frightened? Are they frightened because they broke the bow, perhaps? Don't worry, it's okay. Huh? But the boys hadn't come there because they were showing their disrespect for Kamsa. So then Nanda Maharaj was told by Kamsa that you send some cowherd men to go and look for Krishna and Balaram and tell them to behave properly and come back to the wrestling arena. That's the nature of demoniac rulers and people who like to control. They tell other people, just be humble, Prabhu. Just listen to what I'm telling you. Follow your authorities. So the 43rd chapter begins with the verse spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. Shri Shukuvacha Ata Krishnascha Ramascha Krita Socho Parantapa Maladhundu Vinirghosham Shrutvadrastum Upetuyu Upeyatau. Sukadeva Goswami said, O chastiser of enemies, Krishna and Balaram, having executed all necessary purification, they heard at that time the kettle drums resounding at the wrestling arena, and they went there to see what was happening. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary in this verse, he explains the meaning of the word atta in the verse that indicates that early that morning, Krishna and Balaram, without telling their father and the elders, they went to the bank of the Jamuna to play with their friends. And before they washed their faces and hands, they spoke amongst themselves. They said, friends, listen, the drums are announcing a wrestling match. Let's go. Let's go to the arena. So all together, they went to see the wrestling match. Sridhar Swami in his Bhavarta Deepika explains that Krishna and Balaram were thinking, even after we've made our power known by breaking the bow and doing all these amazing things, still this rascal Kamsa hasn't gotten the idea. He hasn't figured it out yet. He hasn't let Vasudeva and Devaki go. And Kamsa, rather, he wants to kill them. Therefore, although he's our maternal uncle, it won't be wrong for us to kill him. That was their meditation that morning. So chapter 29 of the Vishnu Parva of the Vamsa Purana describes Kuvalapida Maranam, or the killing of Kuvalapida. And it begins by describing something about the wrestling arena. Tasmin nahani nibrite dvitiye samupashtite apuryata maharanga Purayudha di Drikshubi. Srila Vyasadeva describes that when the day was over, that was when everybody came to the wrestling arena to see the fight. So that's the nature of Vedic culture. People work hard during the day. Generally it's an agrarian culture, and they get up early in the morning, they go to the fields, and the entertainment is in the evening. So text 29 describes, text 2 describes, Sachitrastas Srichitranaha Sargaladva Raveti Kaha Saga Vaga Shada Chandrascha Sutal Potam Ambushitaha. Describes that arena, and how in that arena it was decorated everywhere with beautiful pictures. And there were pillars on 8 different corners supporting the stage. The entrances were beautified with arches. There was beautiful beds and pillows provided, in case somebody, when they're watching, they get a little tired and they want to watch. There were wonderful flags and different things. And it's described that there were rows of groups of artists and craftsmen who got special seats. This is Vedic culture. Even though Kamsa is a demon, still there's appreciation for the arts. There's appreciation for the Brahmins, whose primary duty is to think. Antapuracharamcha. There were also some nice viewing places arranged for the ladies. And the ladies, they had all nice new golden ornaments on. This is why Anapayani is wearing something. She heard she wants to show some solidarity. So she's also dressing up in a fancy new way today. Then Kamsa arrived there, and Kuvalapida Samadvari Kunjara. He said that this elephant Kuvalapida should be kept close to the entrance. It's described Sashukli Vasasi, that Kamsa was dressed in white clothes. So sometimes it used to be said when I was growing up with the cowboy movies, the guys in white are the good guys and the guys in black are the bad guys. But in this case, the black guy was the good guy and the guy who was dressed in white was the bad guy. So you can't always tell by what color they're dressed. And Kamsa was sitting there on his throne, and it said that Drisva, when seeing him like this on his throne, Pura Prachura Jayasisa. Jayasisa, many of the citizens who were sycophants, if you know what the word sycophant means, it means a chela, or someone who wants to please the king, and we call them a yes man in America. Those citizens were chanting, Jai, Jai, all glories to the king. See me? I'm chanting your glories. The Garga Samhita describes this same pastime in chapter 7 of Canto 5. And it said there, Nanda Raja Dayo Gopaha Kangsahuta Natanaha Datva Balam Param Tasma Ekasmin Mancha Asritaha. At that time, Kamsa called for Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd people, and they all went there, they bowed their heads. Natanaha means to bow their heads, and Datva means to offer the Balim. They had some gifts. Balim means gift. And they placed their gifts before Kamsa, and then they went to their special seats. And it's described, Banasura Jarasanda Narakanam Paranripa Anyesam Sambaradinam Sakasad Bubujam Tata. There are many other kings there, and it's particularly mentioned Banasura, Jarasandha, Narakasura, Shambar, all these different kings. They also approached the arena to see the wrestling match. And at that time, Kamsa, we're remembering what Kamsa previously told Akrura. Before he sent Akrura to Vrindavan, the Garga Samhita, the 5th canto, describes the words of Kamsa, the 1st chapter. Dvipena va mahamalaya gata yishyami ta sisu tat paschanandarajam cha vasudeva sahayakam. He spoke about an elephant. He said, Dvipena means the elephant, va mahamalaya, along with the mahamalaya, the powerful wrestlers, gata yishyami, I'm going to kill. Gata yishyami to sisu. Sisu means a child, a boy. I'm going to kill these boys, and after I've killed them, the tat paschan nandarajam, then I'm going to kill Nanda Maharaj, who's a friend of Vasudeva. And after I kill him, Vrishabhanu Varam Paschan, I'm going to kill Vrishabhanu Maharaj. And after I kill Vrishabhanu Maharaj, Nava Nando Panada Khan, I'm going to kill all of Nanda Maharaj's brothers. Paschach Chorim Hanishyami Deva Kam Tat Sahaya Kam. Then that Vasudeva, I'm going to kill him, and I'm going to kill Devaka, his friend Devaka. Ugrasenam Chapitaram Vridam Raja Samukshikam. Tat Paschad Yadavan Sarvan Hanishyami Nasangsaya. Then I'm going to kill that old man, that Brida, who's my father, who's still very eager, Raja Samukshikam, he wants to rule my kingdom. And after that, Tat Paschat means after that, Yadavan San Sarvan Harishyami, I'm going to kill all the members of the Yadu dynasty. He's a complete psycho. At that time, Kamsa called for his servant, whose name was Mahamatra. Mahamatra was the Mahut. Mahut means the driver of the elephant. Mahatmatram tata kangso bhabase hasti jivanam hasti kuvalapida samajadvari tishtatu. He told him, you keep Kuvalapida at the entrance of the arena. This Kuvalapida is so powerful, and he becomes very, very angry. So he told him that sa samno dayat tavyaste tavadishya Vanokaso. Vanokaso is a special word here. Vanokaso means the residents of the forest. So he told him, you take the elephant and direct him against the residents of the forest. So Vasudeva Suto Viro Yeta Swatam Gatayuso. So the powerful sons of Vira, sons of Vasudeva, they'll be killed. He said to him, I want to see those residents of Vrindavan killed in the arena by you and the elephant. And when they're all killed, then Vasudeva, along with his wife, they're all going to die. They're going to be brokenhearted. When they see that Krishna is killed, all the ignorant Yadavas who are supporters of Krishna, they'll all die. Drishva Krishna Nipatitam. They'll lose all their hope and they'll die. I'm going to make the city devoid, free of all the members of the Yadav dynasty. I'm going to kill all of them. I've given up my father, who's a benefactor of the Yadava race. And why? He said previously, Yatnascha kriyatam kangsa garbanam patanam prati navagya rupave karya durbale swajane piva. Kangsa was saying that previously, Narad Muni, he told me, he gave me this instruction. Kangsa garbadanam patanam prati. You should make some efforts to destroy patanam prati, the garbanam, the womb, the baby in the womb is there. Navagya ripave. Ripave means the enemies. Don't ignore your enemies and your relatives, even though durbale swajane piva, they look like they're weak. And then he told me, Kansa is telling all this to the Mahout. It's interesting because what does it mean? Why would you tell a Mahout all these things? He's just the elephant driver. And Kansa is telling him all these very, very personal things. It means Kansa is going crazy. And when you start talking to the ordinary workers and telling them very personal, intimate things. And he went on to tell him that previously Narad Muni said to me that Chayam Ugrasena sa pitatava mahabala. Ugrasena is not your father. Drumalo nama tejasvi sobasya pati rujita. Your father is known as Drumala. And we spoke something about previously how that is from the Padma Purana. The Vamsa Purana also describes that Ugrasena is not really the father of Kamsa. And perhaps it was for this reason that Krishna didn't hesitate, that Kamsa, didn't hesitate to imprison Ugrasena. He's not really my father. And then Kamsa began to go on to Mahamatra, his Mahout. And he told him, Mata Pitribhyam Samtyakta Stapita Svena Tejasa Ubayamyapi Vidvishto Banda Vaischa Visheshata. He says, particularly, he starts out by saying Mata Pitribhyam. My mother and my father, they've given me up. So I've established myself, Stapita, Svena Tejasa, with my own power. He said, you should know, Uba Bhyamapi Vidvishto, both my parents and Bandavascha Vishesha, and especially my relatives, they all hate me. This is the madness of Kamsa. And we should contrast this with the words of Krishna. When Krishna left Vrindavan, what did Krishna tell to the residents of Vrindavan? He told them that some of you will stay here, some of you will come with me. Nanda Baba, my father, he'll come with me. The boys will come with me. And Nanda Maharaj's, my father's younger brothers will come. But the older brothers will stay behind. And anybody who stays, I want you to take care of my mother. And love my mother. And take care of the cows. So this is just the opposite of Kamsa. He's thinking his own mother is his enemy. So then he said that after I kill these boys of the elephant, then I'm going to kill all the Yadavas who are on Krishna's side. So then Kamsa ordered the musicians to start playing the turiyas, a particular type of instrument. Everybody started shouting and clapping their hands. And at that time, the sons of Vasudeva, the Vamsa Purana says, and Vasudeva actually is also a name for Nanda Maharaj. They arrived there at that place, and they were dressed in a special way for that occasion. They had sandalwood paste on their heads, and they looked like twins. And it's described in the Harivamsa Purana. Asfotayam ta vanyonyam bahu. Bahu means the arms. Chaiva galu pamo. They started slapping each other's mighty arms, hands, and they were shouting. And then as they came there, they found this great elephant, Kuvalapida, blocking the way. And the Bhagavatam describes Ranga Dwaram. That arena is Ranga's arena for the name for the arena also. Ranga Dwaram, the gateway there, Samasadyatasmin. They arrived at that place and they found Nagam Avastitam. There was this elephant there, standing there, blocking everything. Apashyat Kuvalapidam, Krishnam Bhasta Prachoditam. And he saw that this elephant Kuvalapida was there on the urging on Bhasta of his keeper. At that time, Badva Parikaram Sori Samuya Kutilalakan Uvacha Hastipadam Vacha Meghanada Gabiraya. Krishna tied up his cloth, tied his hair back, and he spoke to the elephant keeper with very grave words, which are like a rumbling of a cloud. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in Sarita Darshini that Krishna took off his shirt, tightened his belt, took off the garlands and other things that were hanging over his shoulder, and then he tucked his curly hair into his turban with his fingers. And then, being afraid that they might come loose while he was fighting, Krishna tied back his hair with his upper cloth. Jiva Goswami in Laghu Vaishnava Toshani says that in order to fool the elephant trainer, Krishna had put on a wrestler's costume. So they wouldn't be able to figure out these are the guys from the forest that are supposed to be killed. And Jiva Goswami explains, otherwise it wouldn't have any meaning to say that he bound up his waistcloth, because Krishna wouldn't be dressed like that. And then Krishna told that elephant driver, get out of the way. And if you don't, I'm going to send you and your elephant to Nayami Yama Sadhanam. I'm going to send you to the abode of Yamaraj. At that time, Jiva Goswami and Gopal Campu says that the elephant was looking at all this, and the elephant was thinking to himself, Paryatan nata evayam singha eva sasangharan bindan biduram eveti karina hare aikshata. This fellow, this Krishna in front of me, he moves like a dancer. Nata means a dancer. And Singha Eva Sasangharan. He destroys like a lion. He can break thunderbolts. Elephants by nature, they're afraid of lions. And lions. And sometimes we see in the temples, there's a lion at the gate. But you don't see an elephant. But sometimes in Orissa and other places, you'll see an elephant by the gate, but not by itself. The elephant will have a lion on top of it. And the elephant is a symbol of Buddhism. And the lion is a symbol of Hinduism. And so it indicates the victory of Hinduism over Buddhism. And that's why in a lot of temples in India, they have a lion you'll see on top of a elephant. So at that time, the Garga Samhita says that Krishna spoke in a very polite way. He used the word anga. Anga means sir. He said, Akarshanga nagendram margam kurumamichaya no chetvam patiyashyami sanagam bhumi mandale. He said, my dear sir, please move this elephant out of the way and let us go. And he said, Ichaya na, if you don't decide to do that, then I'll tell you what's going to happen. Patayishyami sanagam bhumi mandale. I'm going to throw you and your elephant on the ground. That elephant was so great. It said that the demigods, sometimes the demigods have said that they don't sleep. But Jiva Goswami and Gopal Campu says the real reason the demigods were not sleeping is they were terrified of Kuvalapida. People couldn't understand when they saw Kuvalapida, is it an elephant or is it a mountain? Kuvalapida was so huge. And Krishna, seeing him, he tied up his cloth and he approached that elephant along with Balaram and his friends following along behind him. At that time, Jiva Goswami and Gopal Campu says, Krishna, this is not a good idea. Really, you shouldn't do this. Krishna, don't do this. Krishna, don't do this. But Krishna wouldn't listen. The boys were shouting. And at the same time, Krishna's enemies were also there. And they were watching and they started shouting. And they said, don't let the elephant go to Krishna, because they're thinking Krishna's going to kill the elephant. Krishna looked at the boys. He looked back at the enemies who were shouting. And Krishna smiled in a big, nice smile. And Krishna then approached the elephant. And that elephant rushed to Krishna. And with his tusk, it tried to hit Krishna, but it hit the earth. And then Krishna got close to the tusks, and he grabbed him and threw the elephant on the ground. The Garga Samhita describes, Grihitvatam harim sadhya sundadandena nagarat ujahara tatastasman nirgato bhara bridhari. That elephant grabbed Krishna in his trunk and lifted him high in the air. But at that time, Krishna, he slipped away from the elephant, from its grasp. And then the Garga Samhita describes in a very beautiful way, Tapadeshi Valino Bhut Pradraman San Itastata Brindavana Nikunje Shu Brike Shu Chalyata Hari. That just as Vrindavan and Nikunjeshu, Krishna used to play in the forests of Vrindavan, and he would move amongst the trees going very quickly here and there, in the same way, Krishna began to play a game of hide and seek between the elephant's legs. The Vamsa Purana describes that elephant became furious and it tried to kill Balaram and Krishna. But at that time, Tata Prahasita, the word prahasita is used. Prahasita means it started laughing. That elephant was trying to frighten Krishna, but Krishna just began to laugh. And Krishna said, Kamsa must be very eager to go to the abode of Yamaraj, since he's sending this elephant to me. And that elephant approached Krishna roaring like a great thundercloud. And Krishna jumped up in the air and he clapped his hands. And then Krishna began to roar and clap his hands in front of the elephant. He caught hold of the elephant's trunk, and Krishna pressed it to his chest. And then Krishna went between the tusks of the elephant and between its legs. And then coming out from the middle of its legs, and Krishna started dragging the elephant by its tail. And that elephant fell down on the ground. And Krishna began playing with the elephant like a child playing with a toy. As the Garga Samhita describes, Puche means the tail. Puchi grihit vatam nagam Baladeva Mahabala. The very powerful Balaram, and he went and he grabbed the tail of the elephant. And Chakarsha Bhuja Dandabhyam Faninam Garudo Yadha. It started pulling that huge elephant just around, just in the same way that Garuda drags a snake. And while all this was going on, again the word prahasa means to laugh. Krishna started laughing, and he grabbed the trunk of the elephant. So Balaram had a hold of the tail, and Krishna had a hold of the trunk of the elephant, and they're both pulling it in different directions. And the elephant was greatly distressed. It's described at that time, Mahamatras Tada Sapta. That elephant trainer whose name was Mahamatra. The Garga Samhita also gives the same name as the Vamsa Purana. At that time, Tada Sapta Ruham, 7 different elephant trainers came there to help rescue that elephant. And then it's described, Nita Gajas Tata Chanyai Krishnam Hantu Satatrayam Ankusha Lasvanat Krudam Mate Bam Puna Agatam. The other trainers, they brought 300 elephants to try to kill Krishna. And while Balaram was watching, then Krishna approached that elephant and grabbed it by the trunk and threw it around and down on the ground like a child throws a small pot on the ground. And at that time, then Krishna, he put his right foot on the forehead of the elephant, and he pulled out both of the tusks of the elephant, and he stabbed the elephant with those tusks. And this elephant, being stabbed by its own tusks, it screamed and began to pass stool and urine. And blood was coming out from its wounds. And then Krishna took that tusk of the elephant and he struck him really hard and killed the elephant. And then he killed the mahout. And then they picked up those two. Krishna gave one of the tusks of the elephant and gave it to Balaram. And it's described in Garga Samhita that while the saintly people of Mathura were watching, the elephant died, and then Krishna and Balaram began to beat that mahout also. And it said then at that time, Tad Jyoti Shri Ghana Shyame Linam Jatam Videha Rat Danta Utpatyatasyapi Rama Krishna Mahabala. At that time, an effulgence, Tat Jyoti means an effulgence, came from that elephant's dead body and entered into Krishna's body. And then Krishna and Balaram killed all the elephant trainers, like two lions attack a flock of deer. And then after Krishna and Balaram killed them, they were covered with perspiration and the blood of the elephants and the guts of the elephant, it said. And they began to enter into the wrestling arena at that time. And everybody began to shout, Jai, Jai, Jai. Jiva Goswami in Gopal Campu, he says, Hastina katite ghate, hastipam, tat kata brita, malik shune tutat stanam, yukanam, tat kimuchitam. He said, when the elephant was killed, what use of the mahouts? When the elephants were crushed, what can be said of the bugs that were residing there? This is how significant Kuvalapida and the elephant was. In the Vishnu Sahasranam, it's described in text 81. Archisman Archita Kumbho Vishitatma Vishodana Anirudho Paratirata Pradyumno Mita Vikrama. That when Krishna heard that his father Vasudeva had been insulted by Kamsa, this word Archisman means that Krishna became furious with anger when he heard that Kamsa had insulted Vasudeva. This is from the commentary Baladeva Vibhushan. And Krishna was worshipped and honored by Sudama and Kubja, therefore he's known as Archita, he was worshipped by them. And it's said that Krishna was Vishodhana. He killed the elephant Kuvalapida and purified it of all its sins, and he gave it, Vishodhana, liberation. So how is that? The Garga Samhita, on the 11th chapter of the 5th canto, speaks about the previous birth of Kuvalapida. There's a conversation between the devotee Bahulashva and Narad Muni. And Bahulashva, he asked Narad Muni, who was this Kuvalapida in his previous birth? And why did he become an elephant? Why did he merge into the body of Krishna? And so then Narad Muni said, Bali Putra Mahakayo Nana Mandagatir Bali Sarva Shastra Britan Shresto Lakshanaga Samo Bali. He told a story previously. He said, Bali Maharaj, the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, he had a son who was a giant named Mandagati. And that son was as strong as Lakshanaga Sama, as 100,000 elephants. And one day he was on a pilgrimage to Rangaketra in South India, and he pushed his way through the crowd, pushing everybody with his arms as if he was a mad elephant. And at that time there was one elderly sage there who got pushed, and he became angry. That elderly sage was named Trita Muni. And Trita Muni, he cursed Bali's son. And he said, you're pushing everybody on the way to the temple here, just like a wild elephant. I curse you to become an elephant. And so at that time, immediately that demon, Mandagati, gave up his body. And Mandagati then, he folded his hands, he's in this ethereal body, and he circumambulated that sage. And he said, my dear sage, you're the king of the yogis. You're Kripa Sindhu. You're a very merciful person. You're the best of the Brahmins. He spoke sweet words to him. He said, when will I become free from being an elephant? He said, I never should have offended a great saint like you. You have the power to bless or to curse, so please forgive me. So Narad Muni, telling us from Bahulasra Maharaj, he said that sage, Trita Muni, his anger went away. And he told him, Vachana me misana shatad bhaktya harshitos maham. Te dashyami varam divyam devanam apidurlabam. He said to him that Vachana me, my words can't be false, what I've said. He said, but nevertheless, I'm pleased. Harshita means to be pleased. I'm pleased with your devotion that you're showing. I'm pleased with your behavior. Therefore, Prabhupada, in one purport in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he says that superiors should not be offered even a verbal fight. Shouldn't ever quarrel with superior persons. And so this son of Bali Maharaj, he pleased that sage, Trita, with his sweet words. And Trita said, okay, I'm pleased with you. Te dashyami varam divyam. So I'm going to give you a very special blessing. He said, you don't feel bad about us. Ma shukam kudadaityendra. Don't feel bad. Mathurayam Hare Puri, in the city of Mathura, which is the city of Krishna, Sri Krishna Hastate Muktir, you're going to get liberation from Krishna's own hand. And so then that demon, the son of Bali Maharaj, Mandagati, he became an elephant in the Vindhya hills, and he was as strong as 10,000 elephants. But Jarasandha captured him, and we spoke about that before, how he gave Kamsa that elephant as a wedding gift. And so because of this blessing of Trita Muni, he merged into the body of Krishna. He got this Kaivalya Mukti. So this story has some purport to it also. The word mada is used in this purport, in this verses. Mada means a kind of madness, but mada also is a kind of fluid that comes from the forehead, the temple, the forehead of a male elephant, in what in Sanskrit or Urdu also is called mushti. Musht or must means, it's a word in Urdu which literally means drunk. And it's a condition sometimes that bull elephants, it's like we have the bulls across the street and they're a little strong. If you go to see Garuda, they can be a little strong. Garuda's like an elephant. So at that time, these elephants, they get in this really aggressive behavior. And it's also accompanied, this musht, by a big rise in their reproductive hormones. They get really lusty and angry. And so this is mentioned in a number of Sanskrit works and different literature, how these elephants in musht, and this is Kuvalapida, they're described to explain extreme hedonism and masculinity and power and pleasure. So this is Kuvalapida. He's sent by Kamsa. And Kuvalapida, he represents the lust of Kamsa and the anger of Kamsa. Kuvalya also means a water lily, and apida means to touch with fire. So another meaning of the word Kuvalapida is that he's an insignificant water lily who, when he touches the fire of Krishna. So that elephant also is described as his situation was called Unmada. And as we'll speak later on, the gopis are also sometimes described as Unmada. Unmada has several meanings. In our Gaudiya literature and Ujjwal Nilamani and other books, Unmada is used to describe the particular mad condition of the gopis in Radharani. But Unmada, another meaning of it is, it's associated with extreme sensual arousal. Someone becomes really, really lusty, and they lose all their good brains. And this was Kuvalapida. He was Unmada. He completely lost all his good intelligence. And Unmada also indicates someone who's obsessed with pleasure and power. It refers to someone who has great attachment and possessiveness. So, therefore we have the sadhus and yogis. They're supposed to combat this mada. They're supposed to calm the mind. And we see Krishna was killing Kuvalapida. And so therefore some acharyas say the Kuvalapida represents Krishna's unmada, his madness born of the fear of death, which is prophesied at the hands of his nephews. So Krishna killed Kuvalapida. And at that time, Krishna and Balaram, Jiva Goswami says in Gopal Campu, that Krishna and Balaram looked very beautiful. They had these clothes on that belonged to King Kamsa. And they had this like some decoration. They had the blood from the elephant on their bodies. And they were carrying the tusks of the elephant. And they came, then they walked into the wrestling arena. And everybody saw him, and all the enemies became very, very frightened. But Krishna's followers, they became very, very happy. Yes, this looks very, very good. And then at that time, Kamsa saw those two boys entering into the arena. And he said, who is he? Who are these? And those two boys turned their backs on Kamsa. When you come before a king, you offer your obeisances. But when Krishna and Balaram came before Kamsa, he turned his back. And what does it mean? He turned his back. It means he turned around to those people who were behind him. Who's behind him? The cowherd boys. And Jiva Goswami and Gopal Campu says, look at this fellow. He's halfway to the heavenly planets already. And he started laughing and talking and began to play with his friends. He's entering into this arena, this deadly, dangerous place, with the greatest, most powerful warriors, Chanura and Mushtika, there ready to kill him, and this mad demon Kamsa. And Krishna just turns his back and starts playing with his friends. It's described that when Kamsa saw those two, he asked, who are they? He saw it, they looked like they were covered, they were all red with the blood of the dead elephant. And Krishna looked like Shiva at the time of the destruction of the universe. And Krishna asked, who are these guys? What's that in their hands? Why are their bodies painted? And they replied to him, those are the tusks of Kuvalapida. And it's not paint. They're covered with the blood of the elephant. And Jiva Goswami says, the very effulgence of the boys informed Kamsa, hey Kamsa, if you're really strong, why did you put that elephant at the gate? And why didn't you come? And if you like these tusks, why didn't you grab them and take them? So in this way they were hinting to Krishna. And the people of Mathura, they began to glorify Krishna. Say, he's the one who killed Putana. He's the one who killed Shakatasura, that cart demon. And why are they mentioning this? Because again, as we mentioned in the previous session, they're speaking about how even as a small baby, Krishna killed these terrible demons. And all the residents of Mathura are speaking in this way. And the residents of Swargalok, they begin to shower down flowers on Krishna and Balaram. They begin to play music. So we'll speak more in our next session, which will be on Friday, about the further events in Mathura and how Krishna killed Chanura and Mushtika, and how then the cowherd boys began to wrestle with Krishna. Because we want to hear especially about what happened with the residents of Vrindavan when Krishna went to Mathura. And as we're continuing our discussion about Mathura, we want to speak about why it is that Krishna didn't return to Vrindavan with Nanda Maharaj, and what happened when Nanda Maharaj returned to Vrindavan alone. This is an important discussion in our larger topic, which is the meeting of Kurukshetra, and all these events are leading up to that. So I'm going to stop there, and if there's any devotees who want to share any reflections or thoughts that we have today, it's nice to see our saintly Madhupati Prabhu and Natalia there. Natalia, I think your daughter just got out of the hospital or something. It's good to hear that. And Vijay, Hare Krishna, Advaita Chandra Prabhu. Damodar Prabhu, my pranams. Nice to see you. Something's going on with my computer. And Raghava Pandit Prabhu is there also. My pranams, Raghavaji. Raghava is asking, what's cooking in the background? That's his reflection, his comment. Can we ask what's cooking in the background? Dosha and coconut chutney. Raghava's comment, he said, that's why we've come in the lineage of lions to sing a guru. In the lineage of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Yes, and Madhupati Prabhu has commented that umada means intoxication. Yes, it means a kind of intoxication. And very foolish persons, they become intoxicated and very lusty like this, and they forget their position, and they want to go and try to fight with persons who are more powerful than them. Whereas a wise person, Raghava Pandit posted a nice thing this morning on Facebook about how we should act within our sphere of influence, not just our sphere of desire, but the first thing should be the sphere of influence. And this is the symptom of a wise person. This is why the residents of Mathura didn't try to kill Kamsa, and why Akrura didn't try to kill Kamsa, because it was beyond them. Raghava comments, he says, beautiful cooking party for Krishna. Very nice. Okay, thank you, Raghavaji. Anybody else have any reflections? You can share them. Anapani, do you have something you want to share? I'll give you the space and feature here.
I have a question. So you mentioned how Kamsa, he started to say that he gonna kill Nanda Maharaj, Rishabhanu. So, and I was wondering why he said Rishabhanu right after Nanda Maharaj.
Because he's a big demon, that's why.
Yeah.
Because he knows about Vrishabhanu Maharaj, according to Rupa Goswami and Lalita Madhav, Kamsa knows about Srimati Radharani, and that she's the daughter of Vrishabhanu Maharaj, and he was advised by one of his demoniac friends that he should kidnap Srimati Radharani and forcibly marry her, and that's another topic in Lalita Madhav, which we read recently. Very, very disturbing. Okay. Anything else from anybody? Okay. So we'll be back again on Friday. Thank you all very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Vamsa Kalpatarubhascha, Kripa Sindhu Bheda cha, Patita